I had to ask myself a question about this. If I'm going to have 10x goals, right? Or not if, because I'm going to have 10x goals, the next question I have to ask myself is what would my goals look like? What would my actions look like if I knew I absolutely positively would not be judged for any of it? How different would you show up? How different would you show up for yourself? How different would you show up for your family, right? How different would you show up for your goals? Guys, that's what 10X is about. It is about showing up in a different way every day with massive effort to achieve massive, massive results. So let's go to that. The 10X rule is massive action and massive thought behind that action. So you can have massive action and you can work big, but you also have to think big, right? And one of the things when I hear people say, oh, I'm not going to up my goal, or is that goal realistic? Guys, realistic is a word that you should remove from your vocabulary. It's not, is the goal realistic? It's, okay, if my goal is this, what are the actions that I have to do? What is necessary for me to hit that goal? Because it is absolutely, quote unquote, realistic if you're willing to put in the massive action to get there. And that's a choice that only you can make, right? That's only the choice that you can make. I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to do my miracle morning. I'm going to work out. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to look at my goals. I'm going to internalize my goals. And then I'm going to put the massive action in place to make my goals happen. It's really, really about every single little decision that you make to get into massive action on those goals. So let's talk about what stops us from that a lot of times. There were four areas that he said, if you go and look in the book, and it's on page, I actually have the Audible and I have the book. Guys, the Audible is awesome because he actually talks more and goes into more depth than the book. But the nice thing to do is to actually be able to read them together. But if you look on page 6, there are 4 basic mistakes that Grant Cardone talks about that every single person makes, at least one of these, when going for your massive action to your massive result. And I actually want to look at one of them. I want to look at number 3.
Right. I will see you later. Have a good day.
Spending too much time competing and not enough time dominating your sector. Spending too much time competing and not enough time dominating your sector. So why is that important in my mind? I'll tell you why. Because in my experience with a lot of the agents I coach, there is at some point in time, either one time or 10 times or more, when an agent that I'm coaching will get derailed by looking at what someone else is doing to be successful. And then that agent will change their trajectory to chase this other agent and in that point become competitive with that agent without even realizing it. How many of you have ever done that? Raise your hand. We all have at some point, whether it's in fitness, whether it's in life in general, whether it's in the kind of house we have, the car we drive, or our business, we get into a competition mindset. Here's the danger of a competition mindset. If you have spent the time up front identifying what your 10X goal is and what the 10X activities are that you need to take to propel yourself towards that 10X goal, you cannot afford to get derailed by what someone else is doing. Raise your hand if you understand what I'm saying. You cannot afford to get derailed by what someone else is doing. You have to have a solid plan of what your goal is, what your target is, and the steps that you're going to take to reach that target. What are you going to get up and do every single day? Every single day. And when you look at what others are doing and you try to emulate what others are doing, number one, you're not staying true to yourself and what has made you successful thus far. Number two, you are running someone else's race, not yours. And number three, you consistently fall short of your daily target because you're chasing what someone else is doing and not what you believe is right for you. Is this resonating with anybody? So if social media is your thing and you're excellent at it, go get it. If cold calling's your thing and you're excellent at it, go get it. If networking is your thing and you're excellent at it, go get it. But create an action plan, a daily action plan that focuses on what you're good at and how you get business, and do it every single day. And stop trying to compete with everyone else. Be true to yourself. Because here's the reason why it's so important. Raise your hand if you have ever been through a downturn in the real estate market and real estate was your number one source of income. Raise your hand. Raise your electronic hand. Okay, so of all of us on this call, there's 5 of us. Here's what happens when you run somebody else's race. When the market turns, the business that you received it because the market was easy. And when you don't have the right systems and models set up for your own business, your business will retract with the market, the amount that the market's retracting. Does that make sense? So if the market retracts 20% and your growth was 20% just because of excuse me, let me say that again. If the market grows 20% and your business grows 20%, it will retract 20% when the market retracts 20%. Does that make sense? Because the market gave you the business. That's what happened in 2008. We didn't have systems set up. I was the number one. No systems, no model, running with the flow, taking what I was getting because it was busy and I had it coming in. The market retracted and I had no systems and models set up in my business to keep my business propelling forward because I was riding the wave of an awesome market. So having a 10x goal only works if you have 10x actions to back it up. Actions that you do consistently every single day. That way, if the market collapses, and Grant Cardone talks about this, if the market collapses, you still continue to move forward because you have invested in your system, your models, your actions. And that way, if the market increases 20%, but your business increases 30% and it retracts 20%, your business might retract 20%, but you're still 10% ahead of everybody else. And guys, 10%, heck, let's face it, 5% can be the difference between you staying in real estate and going and getting a 9-to-5 job. We've seen it happen many times. I've been through 3 downturns. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we prepare today for what we know is coming tomorrow. Do we know when it's coming? No, we don't, but we prepare today for it. So in your 10x goal, if you're in real estate, what is your 10x goal for listings? What is your 10x goal for listings? I want you to think about that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next part of this. So we talk about 10x goal requires 10x action, and it requires 10x thought. And for you not to get caught competing with everybody else and running someone else's race, you run your own race. So here's the second thing I want to challenge you to think about. What did you learn as a child or in your upbringing that has influenced your mindset around money and wealth? Think about that for a minute. Grant Cardone touches on this. He says, what predetermined and established parameters have you already set for yourself based upon the socialization of when you were a child and you were brought up? Now, I'm not putting this out there on anyone to say, there's been any any way or shape or form the way you were raised, or it's not about that. What I'm saying is anything that we were taught or exposed to when we were young will determine how we set goals and targets as we're older. So for me, I can use myself for an example. I was born into kind of a lower middle class blue collar family. My father was a carpenter. My mother worked in a lunchroom at the school. She drove a school bus. And, I grew up in a mobile home for half of my childhood. We didn't move into a single family home until I was around 9 or 10 years old. And so based on that, I had some predetermined and conceived notions around wealth and money, right? That there was never enough, that it was scarce, right? That the haves have and the have-nots don't have, that we have to work really hard for everything we get, don't have debt, no debt is good debt. I mean, there's all these preconceived notions I had around money and what it means to have wealth. So those mindsets can also play and wreak havoc on the actions and the goals you set and the actions you put into place for those goals. Who else is ever had this impact them? Raise your hand if this resonated with you when you were reading this book, right? So we are a result of what we were exposed to when we were young. And so the question you want to ask yourself is how does that impact how you think and how you set goals? How does this impact how you think and how you set goals? And what things can you put in place right now to overcome those? Thoughts? I want some ahas. Let's have some ahas for some folks before we wrap up.
I go.
Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, so definitely resonate with me. We all are programmers. We're born into society, right? There's always, we have our own cultures. We have our beliefs, our religions, and most of us think that it's not even ours. They just pass it on to us, as we grow up through our family members, right? And people around you. So to me, money and wealth was something that growing up in Ecuador, to the grace of God, pretty decent. But yet money and wealth wasn't something that I was taught by growing up. So I always was sort of afraid of it. And maybe felt that wasn't worthy to get it, right? And to have that lifestyle. And that is something that's a mindset that I have changed at least in the past 5 years. And it's a work, because you need to reprogram those thoughts that you have they've been in you for your entire life. So it's not an easy task, but finally have broke through that barrier, right? And I just feel, so things are different, but yes, reprogramming your brain, I think that's the most difficult. And one of the things that he said that I loved is this. He says, you can live to accomplish your own goals and dreams throughout your life, or you will be used as a resource for somebody else to accomplish their goals and dreams by using your talent, your skills, whatever that may be. So that definitely got me thinking, for sure.
Yeah, what does that get you thinking about, Nico? Because I love that, right? That's coming from contribution.
Coming from contribution, and either you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for others. That's it.
That's right.
Either you're working hard for you or you're working hard for somebody else. Sort of like renting. You're paying rent, somebody else's mortgage, or you can be paying your own mortgage and equity and that. So
100%. Thank you, Nico. You know what's important about what Nico just said is Nico is what, a 6 or 7 time graduate of Bold? Maybe not that many, I don't know, but it's a lot, right?
8.
See, I was wrong. It's an 8-time graduate of Bold. The thing about Bold is Bold reprograms the way you think. It reprograms the way you think. So that's awesome that you're saying that. And Gary Keller tells us money is only good for the good that money does. Money is only good for the good that money does. Jim, you're next. Thoughts, ahas. Oh, you're on Bold, or you're on Bold. You're on mute, Jim.
I'm Bold. My name is Jim and I am Bold. Good morning and Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
So I wanted to thank you for calling my name. I guess you knew I had something to say. interesting whole concept here, and thinking about my own experience. I'm kind of the black sheep in my own family. My dad, who was a Naval Academy grad, used to drill in my head as a young guy all the time. You have to go to college and you have to do this and you have to do that. It'll make a difference in your earnings throughout life and so on and so on. And I've always bucked that tide. I'm the only one in 2 generations that's never spent a day in a college classroom. I learned everything getting involved in the real estate industry in my early 20s, and then into management and building and development and all of that. So I'm fluent with real estate knowledge in my head. Interesting what you said, Nico. It's like, and I'm realizing I have a lot of talent there, but I'm wasting it. I feel I should be able to do so much more than I'm doing. And that really hit home to me. It's like, okay, so who am I helping with all of this talent? And it's not the guy in the mirror as much as it should be. That is a serious aha for me. And I just want to tell you guys again, Happy New Year. I feel blessed that I am now surrounding myself with you all. I'm proud to work with you. And I think that anything you can do to keep me focused on, remember to work for the guy in the mirror and not everyone else, would be a huge favor, because that's a huge stumbling block for me. So thank you for making that so blatantly obvious, Nico. I appreciate that, brother.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you so much. And Jim closed around 10 million this year, which is super exciting. And his goal for next year is what, 20, 25?
Yes, 25. Mm-hmm.
25. Woohoo, 10x goal. That's awesome. Love to hear it. Who's next? I'd love to hear from one more. Jordis.
Hey there. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You can hear me good?
I can. Fantastic.
All right. Well, Happy New Year's, everybody. There's 2 things that stood out the most to me. So the first one, we were talking about, whatever it is that you do best to go after it. And, we got to be, and I agree with you. So I just want to reinforce that, because I think right now, especially this year, we went to such a heavy social media push when we were in lockdown that, and for not everybody was it their number one thing, right? Or the thing that they're most comfortable with. So I just want to encourage everybody to go back and look at where your business came from over the last couple of years. Or if you're new, where have your engagements come from, your real estate conversations, where they're coming from, so that we can stay focused on that. Because, if it isn't social media, then, hey, don't put so much time into it. And trying to think the other point I wanted to make around something Nico just said. I lost it.
Okay. About others? Yeah,
but no, definitely. So actually, no, about competing and comparing yourself to others. So it kind of tied in with social media. I'm going into my 5th year. So this year right now, 2021 is my 5th year doing it full time, real estate, leaving my past career. And I remember that first year and a half, 2 years, it might have even been the first 3 years altogether, where I think I definitely competed with others, or was trying to, or that's what was fueling me. In some cases, I was not, I was picking people who are like many years in the business ahead of me. And, that's not always the best thing to do. And I think where I'm going with all this now is that I felt, for me at least, that I was competing with others because my why, I didn't have a good enough why as to why I was doing it. I think as I've become, as I gotten to know myself better this year, I've been able to have a better understanding of what drives me, what motivates me, and like what really makes me tick, so that now my actions, my numbers is all based on, it's me. It's not about, anyone else, what they're doing. It's, I have a strong enough why to propel me now. It's no longer about, oh, I have to get number 2 in listings, or I have to do this, or I have to do that to, get a trophy or whatever. The why is enough now for me. And I think sometimes we think we know what it is, but we really don't.
Yeah. And you know what, Jordis, I appreciate you so much sharing that. What I'm hearing from, and appreciate Jordis and Nico, they're both part of our leaders. They're our board members on our ALC this year. So thank you so much for being here, as is Matt Steves and Sam Marakian as well. It's good to see you guys. The thing about it is that when we compete, or when we try, it's okay to admire someone else and to say, hey, that person's number 1 in Collier County, and that's what I want. If that's your goal, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that everyone's way of getting there is different, and no way is the wrong way. It's your way. It's your way that
Becky?
you're most comfortable with. Yes, Nico.
Yeah, just to add something to that, to your point. Also, what he says about is competing. He will say down the book, competing is for sissies, and I love it. It's just funny. But dominating should be the mindset. But that what he says is this: it's not successful people already have models and systems in place, right? Success leaves clues. So he's all about model those people, follow them, see what they're doing that is working, and then do your own thing, but modeling the successful that already, paved the road for us. So that's one of the things, that do not dismiss them, but do follow and see what they're doing, yet take those systems and tools and make them your own.
Make them your own. That's absolutely right. Thank you so much, Nico. So guys, just to kind of, yes, Nicole Black. For you?
I also wanted to reiterate, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, he also says something that wasn't necessarily in this chapter, but just an idea of competition versus motivation. Best known beats best. However, if you can hit the same people, whether it's social media or your pipeline, the more they see you, the better you'll do. Not because you're better or worse. Best known beats best. Like 10x how many times you talk to that person. And I think that that's a huge mindset shift in competition, where you're not trying to compete with the things that they're doing. You're trying to compete with mind share. That's the competition.
Absolutely, 100%. I love that, Nicole. Thank you so much. That's awesome. All right, guys, the thing about it is we have 1 minute left, and I appreciate all of you being on the call today. Hey, Heather Kane, I'll see you in a few minutes. And thank you for being on the call today. Tomorrow we're going to focus on chapter 2. Here's what we take away from today. 1 is that we need to know what our goal is, how we're going to achieve it, have massive goal, and take massive action on a daily basis. 2, work your plan. And just like Nicole said, 10x your the mind share of people in your database. However that works for you, right? There are many different ways to do that, and have your own plan. Without a plan, you will jump and follow this person. And then when this is not working, you'll follow this person or this person. Have your own plan so that you know every day when you get up what it is you're focused on to hit your target at the end of this year. Number 2, think about your mindset around money and wealth. How have you been pre-programmed to think about money, to think about wealth, to think about success? And what are some of the things that you need to do to feed your brain differently so that you can begin to reprogram your mind? Like Nico says, reprogram your mind to think differently. And guys, I hope that this was helpful to you for your day. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for the dialogue. Please show up tomorrow ready to have more dialogue. I'll see you all at 8:30. And remember, we are live streaming on Facebook. So just think about that whenever you unmute yourself. Thanks. Bye.